It's about time he stopped looking for adventure. The guy's name is Yu Qi. He's the son of a god from the world of Jiao Lin. And in the back, that's his spirituality beast, called Xiao Shan. According to tradition, everyone who reaches the age of 18 is sent out to pass various tests, such as hunting and killing foreigners. Suddenly, the guy stopped and his spirit beast slammed into his back. Yu Qi should keep his eyes on the road if he doesn't want Xiao Shan dead. There were fewer of them than Yu Qi had expected. Now it was his turn. A smile appeared on his face. Fire appeared around the guy. He began to attack his enemies. If you've done the deed, you can walk free. Now everyone will hear about him as the strongest 18-year-old boy in the family of Celestials. He really likes to be the center of attention. But the challenge doesn't end there. To complete the challenge, you have to come down to Earth and earn 1 billion in 3 years at the latest. 3 months will be enough for him. Earth is a young and low-level world, and the people who live beyond there call them gods. According to people, you can make a good amount of money in the World Bank. If they are Celestials, it doesn't mean they are omnipotent. He was told to leave because he had no work experience and no diploma. The cyber sports club is where young people make their living. Then, even if he kissed the girl's feet, he shouldn't blame her for missing his chance. How did he ever come to this? He ended up becoming a security guard. This guy really thought it was going to be that easy. Suddenly, Yu Qi remembered that there was an advertisement he had been given. But it's just a scam. The leaflet said that they would teach you how to make money just by lying on the couch, and there was a hotline. But on the other hand, there's no way he'll know unless he tries it. He can't stay a loser any longer. He called back and said he would like to make a little extra money. He was told to come to the Silver Dragon where they would be waiting for him. Some auntie tied his hands. It was for the game. If he wants the money, he should just shut up and listen to her. It ended up being kidnapped. Screams could be heard in the building for him to be released, and for him to be in pain. This lowlife didn't take the drug. Blondie said to move in here and bring the next one. They brought in Yu Qi. Why? Where there's money, there's deception involved. They just need it for their experiments. The man laughed. For what kind of a person would have to be to fall for such an obvious scam? Those who respond to such ads are so stupid that no medication can help them. On people like this guy, Darwin rested. They decided to proceed, but the syringe needle just broke against his skin. The man didn't understand how that was possible. Yu Qi felt as if he had been bitten by a mosquito. That man can't even handle something as simple as this. The blonde decided to take a jab at him himself, but the guy dodged it. After which he attacked them. The man was still questioning if the main character was a warrior. He hates warriors. Let him see the artificial warrior for himself. The man decided to attack him, but Yu Qi quickly dealt with him. A worthless reagent. Even with its help, it failed to overpower the warrior. They'd wasted his day because he could have gotten double time today. He could have gotten a bonus for not taking time off. It's his bad luck. But suddenly he was attacked by a girl. She told him not to move. There was a footprint on his face. Yu Qi asked if she was sure, but he should shut up because you can only answer questions. But suddenly his hand reached for her breast. She quickly jumped away from him. A blush appeared on her face because of such actions of his. But after that, she attacked him again. He wasn't thinking of hurting the girl, just that she would definitely back off. Hitting girls wasn't his thing, but she better not get carried away. But she kicked him in the same spot with irritation. Silver Dragon only employs scumbags, so he deserves it. He warned that girl. She shouldn't have pissed him off. Yu Qi asked if she was an accomplice of the guy lying on the ground. Which means she's a bad person too. The girl noticed that he didn't have a tattoo like the other members of the Silver Dragon. Turns out this guy's not one of them. But he has no idea who she's talking about. He's just a security guard who got tricked into this. He's had enough bad luck. She must prepare to feel the wrath of God's son. She began to apologize for her confusion. She mistakenly thought he was one of those scoundrels, and he happens to be a warrior. And he knows how to use the fire spirit technique. Everyone calls him a beggar guard. He doesn't care who she is, but since this girl has admitted her guilt and won't attack him anymore, he's not interested in staying here and continuing to waste time. He said goodbye to her. Li Shulin screwed up again. How hard it is to earn money, but you have to waste time on such trivial matters. She told him to wait. Yu Qi turned around and asked what else she wanted. Li Shulin asked if he needed money. Yu Qi asked if she had any. She could help him and give him money as a reward. He only needs 1 billion. Li Shulin was surprised at such an amount. Even if he defeats an Alliance Master Warrior, such a cloudy sum wouldn't even be paid to him. If he doesn't agree, it's better to let him say so. She mentioned a warrior, so the guy wondered if such activities paid well. So he doesn't know anything about them. Warriors are the protectors of this world. Heroes who stand up to evil. Nature has gifted them with incredible strength to fight monsters and criminal organizations for the good of the human race. They are admired by all. Warriors are majestic, and their light shines like a ray of sunshine. He said to stop. The guy has no desire to listen to her subservience to them. She'd better answer one question. Can he make a lot of money if he becomes a warrior? But they don't fight for profit. When he joins an alliance to officially become a warrior, he must realize that he will fight for the glory of justice. If he just wants to make money, he can't be a competent warrior. He's only interested in money, nothing more. Also, Yuchi asked how much she wanted to pay him for the task she was talking about. Xiao Lin wanted to pay him 10,000 since she didn't have any more on her. He agreed to it. The guy was glad to have such a sum of money coming his way. But he didn't even ask what he had to do. Security guard jobs are temporary. His strength is that of a warrior, but he is not one. Nor does he know anything about them or the alliance. Perhaps he comes from an isolated world. She thought he was from an ancient warrior family. But the boy confessed that he was the son of the supreme god. No matter what the task, he can do it all. The girl admits he's showing off like a schoolboy. She's officially entrusting him with the task of tracking down the owl. Sparrow is Owl's subordinate. She must be in contact with him. So he has to find her first. They came to the Silver Dragon Karaoke Club. They were wished a good evening. So the woman who tricked him is a sparrow, and those people in the warehouse are called hyenas, and to them, he's just smaller than a bug. The girl wondered if he was sane. This guy's kind of weird. Sparrow will definitely be here. And then they noticed this woman. Yuchi immediately remembered her and wanted to call out to her. Xiao Lin said to forget about her. He needs to take his medicine. The guy wanted to call her because he had a relapse. It was indeed Sparrow. Frost Snake and Fawn from the Warrior Alliance had gotten ahead of them. They couldn't let the Alliance know that they were investigating the case as well. The guy turned around and was asked what was wrong. He thought he saw someone he knew, naturally, because he knows every pretty girl. Yuchi and his escort. They put Sparrow in the car. Yuchi inquired what they would do now. They need to go after them. Since all the hyenas are dead, only the Sparrow has a direct connection to the owl. Sparrow said to let her go, for Owl would soon learn of her arrest. He's already killed a lot of warriors. These guys are just digging their own graves. But someone was already watching them. This someone was clearly dangerous. Guy wondered if she was talking about the chairman who had fled from him a year ago. If it weren't for an unforeseen situation, he'd be dead by now. They had captured her and brought her to the suburbs to attract Owl and avoid the death of innocent people in the city. Today, he's going to the dust. He's going to the... But is he sure of his own words? He jumped off the car and ordered them to stop. A large hand attacked their car. The girl noticed that the owl was much stronger than the boy had told her. A year ago, it had just adapted to the third reagent. Now it is grafted with the fourth, which is at least 10 times better than its predecessor. The owl perceived him differently now. The man was surprised he was so fast. 10 minutes later, Yuchi was already watching them. There was something very interesting going on here. Xiao Lin assumed that Owl was here. It would be a good thing because in that case, he had completed the task of tracking him down, and now they were even. But someone was asking for help from a car. It's Sparrow. She must be saved because she knows the inner workings of the Silver Dragon. We can't let her die. He will save her, and the girl must scout the neighborhood. There is no such thing as working for thanks in the world. Sparrow remembered him, so he asked what he needed. He offered to make a deal. She has to name the value of her life. Meanwhile, Owl had just about dealt with them. They have to choose which one of them dies first. Xiao Lin watched them. She didn't know what to do now. A girl can't just stand by and watch warriors being killed. They are always on the lookout for ordinary people, just like her. She can only help buy time. Xiao Lin hopes that that guy can really be relied on. The girl threw a dagger at him. Owl noticed that. Naturally, it didn't do him any damage. He has to let them go, but she won't even have time to dodge his next attack. The lowly man overestimated his strength. She'll pay for it with her life. The girl began to choke, after which she fell to the ground. The guy couldn't believe what he had just seen. He was able to stand up. He then attacked Owl, but Owl easily repelled his attacks. The fun is just beginning. The man decided to attack the owl again, but something else caught his attention. Xiao Lin woke up and she was something else. Her body began to transform. The man had to rethink his plans. What the hell is going on? This girl is as ossified as Owl. Could she be the monster from the Silver Dragon? Back at the club, he should have remembered her. She's the one who helped the council escape a year ago. Her strength is as strong as his. The situation has escalated. We need to request allied support. Owl rushed after them, but they're long gone. So, what does Sparrow decide to offer in return for saving her? A year ago, the Warrior Alliance had spotted their organization, so they were forced into hiding. Their members were leaving, which was unprofitable. They decided to get people on their side at any cost, using any means necessary. Yuchi asked if the Silver Dragon Karaoke Club belonged to them. It wasn't. They're actually called Hidden Dragon, because the Dragon King hasn't awakened yet. Right now, they were too weak to resist the alliance. Their destiny is to remain in the shadows. She's on her own now. She asked him to wait. Sparrow will tell him a valuable secret of the organization, which is connected with his companion. He stopped. Owl had once mentioned that one of the orphans at the Qinghan orphanage had been inoculated with the sixth reagent and survived. Even Owl wouldn't have been able to do that. Those who can master the sixth reagent become the Dragon King. She was still curious as to who this person was. Secretly from Owl, she investigated and learned that this girl, like Owl, was a survivor. Therefore, she could be the Dragon King. Reagents not only make ordinary people stronger, but can also have side effects. For example, make a person a bloodthirsty criminal, cause amnesia, confuse, or even kill. When the Dragon King, he will cease to realize himself. The Union will give him a reward for this information. The woman hopes that now the guy will save her. It's a shame she was rejected again. He had taught her since she was a little girl that you should always fight back. But the information doesn't seem to stay in my head for long. The Owl took her blow. Her speed is weak and her strength is far from satisfactory. He wanted to help awaken her true power. The Owl hurt her leg, after which he stabbed her in the arm. The pain and hatred is what makes her stronger. She needs to give up her goodness. She has been abandoned and betrayed by those she trusted. She must accept reality as it is and not hold back. The next blow he threw was to her stomach. Li Shulin is the only one who has mastered the sixth reagent. Owl is insanely jealous of her potential. With her help, they could no longer fear the Union. To desire might and to want to awaken a power before which all will be in awe is not a sin. It's time for her to wake up. This would be the historic moment when the Dragon Queen awakened. How beautiful this final look is. It's breathtaking. The Union calls them artificial created monsters and wants to exterminate them without a trace. That's ridiculous. Now she has to show what she can do. Together, they will create a world without the weak. A world where everyone will be a warrior. That is the purpose of the Hidden Dragon. But Yuchi is back. Li Shulin decided to attack him. Like Sparrow said, she's lost her mind and doesn't give herself credit for who she is. Guy asked Owl what he was even doing. Yuchi will blow his head off if he tries to touch his source of income. Li Shulin decided to attack him again, but Yuchi flung it away, for he wanted to teach that beakwing a lesson. Owl called him a desperate warrior. He used air spikes. But the newly minted Dragon Queen doesn't think to sit on the sidelines either. She also attacked him. One attacks from a distance in the air, the other leaps like mad. This combination will be difficult. This guy's not so easy, having survived their attacks. He's not a warrior, but there was truth to what Owl said about simplicity. Now the protagonist is getting serious. Yuchi pulled out a fiery purple sword. Li Shulin aimed to attack him again. Yuchi looked at her threateningly. It made her stop. She jumped back. This guy's strength increased by several times in a moment. But that won't help him. He can't dodge an airborne attack. Something surprised Owl. Its flames melt even the air. Now it was his turn. Yuchi cut off his arm. There is a good reward for Owl in the alliance, so it will keep him alive. Owl yelled for him not to even think about it. Owl shouted for him to die. The Owl attacked him again, but even a surprise attack didn't work. Being in front of this guy, he doesn't even have a faint hope of coming out of this battle victorious. That Owl sure is stubborn, and his mask is heavy. He wondered if his mask was made of gold. He asked how to return Li Shulin to her normal appearance. Yuchi suggested that she was uncomfortable being like this. She cannot wholeheartedly accept her current power, so the Force will control her. The only thing left to do is to wait for the power itself to calm down. If the guy wants to help her, he has to get her to recognize the power. The Owl mask will help with that. Li Shulin began to scream, covering her ears. A year earlier, the location of the shelter was discovered. Union men are about to be here. The drug had already been released. Soon the reagent in their bodies would begin to take effect. The little girl woke up. They put so much effort into raising them. But that's okay, because there are still a lot of abandoned children in the world. So they can find new ones. The girl asked the frost serpent what it was. They are man-made monsters. The man will take care of them, and Fiong must track down Owl and keep him from escaping. How could this have happened? Little Li Shulin's hand was extended. A man will take her home. The first group photo of the Qinghan orphanage. There were many children like her in this large and friendly family. The director took good care in them and paid attention. 1 shot a year, and she'll be strong. That's the only way some family will want to adopt her. The fifth group photo of the Qinggang shelter. She was always curious how they were doing in their new families. But the director said he didn't want to bother them, as their new parents wouldn't like it. She realized that the principal was an owl. Those kids are long dead. It's too late to be sad. She couldn't accept that they were really dead. Those who could not cope with the power of the reagent suffered the same fate. Their bodies were roasted, and then they died. They saw their skin peeled off. All they could do was cry out in despair. She'd better give herself over to hate. She should feel her anger overwhelm her and tear the principal to shreds to avenge those children. With her hand, she impaled Owl. It's finally happening. This guy manages to replace her principal. He's looking forward to her being the key to a new world. Yuchi offered to leave after all the task was done, but she recoiled from him. He shouldn't go near her. Xiao Lin is sure she looks disgusting. But Yuchi replied that she looked great. She turned and asked if he was telling the truth. He confirmed his words. She began to return to her usual appearance. The girl remembered that she had forgotten to ask Owl about the Dragon King, for the sake of whose breeding children were kidnapped. But she doesn't remember anything. Maybe it's because she hasn't mastered that power. The Dragon King doesn't exist. Because she killed the owl, he won't be given a reward from the Alliance. He's demanding compensation. She asked if she could ask him for something else in that case, but she has to at least pay off the owl first. He wondered how much he would get for it. He would have to take the time to ask the union. She'd pay for everything this month, and she'd also be giving away half of her monthly earnings. That's a really good suggestion. The boy inquired what else she wanted. The girl wants to be as strong as the warriors and also join the Alliance to help people. They left the scene. What a shame. His reagent had holothuria cells in it, or his body wouldn't have been able to handle that much damage. Regeneration of internal organs is indeed a useful thing. He also thanked her for coming to the rescue. He was maimed by his own man. Now she even doubts whether to continue cooperating. 10 minutes ago, they were finally safe. If they hadn't created a thick fog by combining their fire and ice abilities, it would have been very unfortunate. They had underestimated the Silver Dragon. We need to call for reinforcements because we can't let them slip away. But you don't have to do that. As luck would have it, she was making her rounds in the area, so they should report the situation. This is the black-ranked warrior, Shahu. It was an accident. He hadn't expected something like this to happen. If Owl had started fighting him, he might not have survived. Neither the Frost Serpent nor Phone knows who this uninvited guest is. He's already arranged it. The only thing that bothers him is that Soa doesn't know where that kid came from, and why he was with Xiao Lin. This guy is definitely not an ordinary person. But even if you run him through the Union database, it turns out that such a person simply doesn't exist. Perhaps he's a foreigner. Biochemical transformations are done exclusively in Alliance. Even if one appears, such as a hidden dragon, there is no way to go unnoticed. The Alliance sends warriors to deal with everything in secret. Then he needs to find a place to hide. She's gonna find out more about this guy. It's 11 p.m., and she skipped her bedtime to preserve her beauty. Owl decided to hide somewhere in abandoned buildings. He also needs more blood samples from rare animals for research. Security post. His master is such a scoundrel. Where is he when his spirit beast is hungry? He wondered if the master had decided to peddle himself. He hadn't mentioned such a thing when he left. Yuchi said he would just try his luck. Ask a rich woman if she needed a personal bodyguard. His father said that Xiao Shan should keep an eye on Yuchi and not let his master use his power against people to make money. But he's only good at fighting, so how can he earn $1 billion? It's just not possible. So Yuchi is back with Xiao Lin. She asked if he was living in the guard gazebo. What a cute little pet sheep. He looks like a sheep with a big fluffy tail. Even alpacas aren't as cute. Yuchi wondered what his spirit animal was called by this girl, but he pulled out of her arms. Xiao Lin asked him not to run away. How dare a filthy half-breed from a low-spirited world insult him? But she wondered what that barking was all about. Yuchi reassured him. After all, it was just a waste of energy. Her spirituality was not yet fully developed to sense Xiao Shan's aura, and he used up all his energy, even though he only barked a couple times. He does talk. It turns out he was the one who was cursing at her. But she got it all wrong. He's got a flair for the paranormal, so he thought she was the wrong guy. Yuchi told him to apologize to her. She is their money tree, so it depends on her if they will be fed. He'll make it up to her right away. Xiao Shan called the girl my lady and said that he was at fault. Her affection is pleasing to him, so she can pet him as much as she wants. No girl can resist being so pleasured like this. He was really too nice for her. I think she's overworked. She has images in her head like she turned into a monster and killed a monster-shaped principal. She also met a guy who introduced himself as the son of God, and he also has an adorable pet. She should get some sleep, and tomorrow this dream will stop. She fell. Xiao Shan asked what was wrong with her. She had run out of strength, and there were many other things that happened today, so she lost consciousness. He wanted to bring her inside, but suddenly the spirit beast smelled something. Fangs appeared around his house. It was a huge monster. Yuchi with the girl in his arms managed to jump away from him. There was a ruined door and a chair. This place was actually his home. Yuchi threw a punch at him and jumped down. She was finally starting to wake up. Xiao Lin didn't realize where she was. How she ended up in this hotel. I think she passed out yesterday. Yuchi wished her a good morning. The girl asked why he was here. Had he been watching her sleep all night? He must know that a man and a woman can't just spend the night in the same room together. If his shelter hadn't been destroyed by the monster, he wouldn't have listened to her snoring and sleepy ramblings all night. He's only interested in the money. He also mentioned that there was a monster in town. She turned on the TV. Last night, some monsters appeared in the city and harmed people. Very soon, summer will come, the time when they are becoming more and more numerous. The head of the city urges citizens to be careful. Indeed, summer is just around the corner, so we must hurry. So from now on, the guy will be training her. You can start working at any time, but before that, it is important to make an accounting of income and expenses. Luxurious downtown. It looks impressive. The headquarters of the Warriors Union is in the heart of the city, which means they have a lot of money. He asked how much the girl thought he would be paid. Why he's like this. 1 out of 3 sentences will definitely be about money. He has no moral values. She needs to come to her senses and not make things up. His true nature is now clearly revealed. He's definitely a money slave. Yuchi can already feel the money beckoning to take it. A woman appeared and remarked that she hadn't seen Xiao Lin in a long time. It was Shahu's auntie. Shahu asked who it was with her. Xiao Lin introduced the guy and also said that he was very strong. Shahu looked at them with a sly look. Shahu hadn't met him before, so she asked if he was a warrior from another city. But he's not a warrior. He's a supermarket parking lot security guard. How curious. Youth is so fleeting. Shahu asked if he was the same age as Xiao Lin. He tries to hide his identity by pretending to be a security guard. Did he really interest her that much? Shahu replied that yes, she did. The more he told her, the sooner she would know who this guy really was. But first, she has to pay. He's making fun of her. It would be stupid to start making fun of his job as a security guard. He's obviously just pretending to be shallow, and he doesn't care about the union. Shahu asked why they had come. Yuchi wanted to know how much they would give him for Owl, and she had just come for company with him. Owl was already dead, so unfortunately there would be no reward for him. She apologized because she couldn't find Owl. A lot of children died in vain, but Auntie shouldn't blame herself. After all, she goes to the welfare office every day. Even Xiao Lin, who grew up under his wing, couldn't grab him. With time, they will definitely become stronger. She should go now, as Frost Snake and Phone are already waiting. Also, she must not tell the others about the modifications that went through with her. She wants to join the Alliance, if only to redeem herself for missing the director. She wishes she could be like her aunt and save more people. She would only need to pass the easiest test to join the Alliance. How long will they talk? Someone could tell him what he could get for the owl. Shahu leaned toward him. What she said made him blush. Xiao Lin asked what Auntie had said to him. Yuchi replied that it was nothing important, but in fact, she said that as a reward, he could have a night with her. The guy asked how old Sha was. She's about to turn 40, though she looks 30. She hasn't aged at all. Apparently, she takes good care of herself. Are all women on Earth so determined? He didn't have a place to live yet. She offered to stay at her place because then they could study anytime they wanted. Since she offered, he's not going to contribute to the rent. She shouldn't even think about deducting his tuition. That's one crazy cheapskate. If you bring up the subject of money, he forgets his manners at the same moment. Here they are at home. She lives here alone, so there are no more rooms. He and Xiao Shan will sleep on the sofa. It's even more spacious than where he lived. He's also temporarily unemployed because the parking lot was destroyed. Maybe he'll stay here until he finds a new job. And given how fast he's looking for one, that could be a long process. The guy wondered if she'd be okay with that. Xiao Lin replied that she didn't mind. But how could anyone be so arbitrary in the first place? Uchi told Xiao Shan to come out. Using the ability on its own wastes so much energy. He did a good job. If the warriors had discovered a spirit beast, it wouldn't be easy to explain. But if his master joins the union, then everything is legal. But he's already said he's not interested. If you're only interested in money, you can't be a good warrior. Maybe that's why he needs to work on himself. She wondered if she should tell him that warriors made very good money. Even the thought of such a person becoming a warrior would shame their bright image. If he wasn't interested, so be it. She suggested we start practicing. Everything in the world is alive, for it was created from living energy. Energy has many names: supernatural power, miraculous ability, spiritual energy. It is necessary to master it, and then it will have extraordinary abilities. He possesses the energies that are associated with fire and perfects the 4 levels of fire. Fire, tongues of flame, flame, flashback. They can be combined to create different techniques. A technique is a special technique that harnesses energy. A technique depends on both its real power and its spiritual power. Therefore, one cannot rely on spiritual power alone to win. In ancient times, human warriors had no spiritual power, so they used martial arts. But suddenly he noticed something. They should be here by now. She needs to take a look. Xiaohu used her technique. She noticed the spirit beast. Xiaohu was doubtful, but now she was sure that this Yu Qi was a candidate sent by the headquarters for reconnaissance. Yu Qi noticed her. How could he spot her stealth tracking technique so easily? He's definitely got good instincts. Li Shulin asked what was on the ceiling since he was looking up there. Yu Qi replied that he was being watched. It had a tag on it. He remembered how Xiaohu had approached him. It was the perfect moment to make a mark. What she's up to. He erased that mark. The girl wondered how she could have missed it. She doesn't have the power yet. They stood so close that his lips accidentally touched her face. They both blushed. Li Shulin stepped back and began to explain that it was just an accident. She didn't intentionally get so close. But the guy didn't say anything for some reason. He didn't react at all. He probably thought the girl did it on purpose. How embarrassing. But the guy reacted too late and also said it was all accidental. The atmosphere was becoming increasingly awkward. She asked to be taught how to master the energy. She finds fire energy too violent, but if she becomes a warrior, she would be called Lina, which sounds good. The problem is that he can't teach her his techniques. The girl wondered why. All people are completely different, and so are their energies. Even if she mastered fire energy, her techniques would be different. There's no point in relying on others in this matter. She'll have to improve herself. And she's not the one who chooses the type of energy. Since she already had spirit beast blood in her, it meant that she would be able to sense the energy. Now it is clear why one must have a natural gift to become a warrior. If the body is not able to perceive energy, there's no way to improve. She needs to open herself to the energy. She needs to close her eyes and listen to the sensations, and then she will be able to detect it. In the vastness of space, there is a huge door, the size of which is similar to the size of a large planet, and it is colored with precious stones. If you come right up to her, she will be like a speck of dust compared to the door. She has to open that door, and then the energy will accept her. It was good that it had the blood of a spirit beast, but it was not an easy thing to awaken the energy. Compared to the gods, it's more difficult for people from this world to feel the energy. She was able to open the door. Yu Qi didn't understand why she was able to handle it so easily and quickly. It was easy enough. It opened with a single push. As expected. A good teacher has good students. How did she even do that? In his day, the guy spent hours in discovery. Now we need to see what she's uncovered. Warrior Alliance mission? The identity has been identified. Xiaohu replied that she understood everything, and why she's the one who got the case. Don't they know how much she's got going on in her personal lady business? Li Shulin is an important specimen to watch. The woman is sure that Yu Qi knew that when he followed her. As long as she's in plain sight, there's not much to worry about. Why attack when you can just keep this Yu Qi around? Looks like we'll have to pay another visit to Li Shulin. It defies all explanation. She didn't think that using energy would take so much effort. It felt like she was getting sick. That's because she has little internal energy. She must never exceed her limit, or she risks losing her life. Li Shulin recalled the words that it was beyond any explanation. She worried that something was wrong with her ability. That's an understatement. Could she not become a warrior? Her ability is known as the realm of omniscience. It is the strongest in the battle support realm and could not manifest in this lower world. Even in his, the higher world, there is only one person who possesses it, and that's his father. He has doubts about whether she is his illegitimate daughter who has inherited the ability. He had heard that the old man in this world was having an affair. If she hears any more weirdness from him, she'll take the guy to a psychiatrist. Someone came to them. It was Xiaohu's auntie. Here comes their third meeting with Yu Qi. Their energies collided with each other. But was this their third meeting? As far as Li Shulin could remember, they had only seen each other twice. Her memory seems to be failing her already. It turns out that he hadn't yet told Xiao Lin that she had used the peeping technique, or he just didn't want her to know that he was being watched. The girl was just about to go to Sha's place. How fortunate that she had stopped by. From the looks of it, Xiao Lin is worried about something. She probably wanted to tell Auntie something important. She decided to show her energy. Shahu hasn't seen something like this yet. It's like there are countless eyes looking at her and seeing right through her. It's an unpleasant sensation. Xiao Lin asked if her aunt had seen her ability. She felt it a little. What kind of ability was it, since the woman had never encountered it before? Yuchi replied that it was called the Realm of Omniscience. The girl can track any movement of someone who is in the area of the ability. How could something like that even exist? Doesn't he realize what it means? This ability is legendary and invincible, except there was one little problem. Suddenly the guy disappeared. Her body's fitness level is nowhere near good enough. She lacks reaction time, so there's no need to overthink this. Who gave him permission to point his finger at her in the first place? That's what he says, because she's as slow as a snail. The potential of this ability is unmeasurable. Even if it is in the hands of an inexperienced warrior, it can make life much more difficult for the enemy in battle. She, as chief examiner, formally invites the girl to join the warrior alliance. Xiao Lin rushed to hug her aunt, but she need not rejoice before her time. Sha has something else important to tell her. She is only one of 3 examiners. She will have to pass the tests of 2 more. The one in charge of the first one is a very stern person. She can only rely on herself. Yuchi also needs to get to the Union as soon as possible. Otherwise, his spiritual beast that is lying on the couch will be eliminated by the Union sooner or later. I can't believe she's threatening him. If the woman doesn't say anything, they won't find out. She just told him how the Union would work, but the woman would still keep his secret. He followed the girl. After all, he needed the money. So if he joined the Union, the problem would be solved. He also asked about the reward for the owl, which would be 3 million. The guy's jaw almost dropped at that price. This is still an average price. There are times when rare ancient spirit beasts are rewarded with 50 million. He clung to her leg and begged his aunt to get him a job at the Union. He'd work like hell. That's quite an act he's putting on. The closest testing will be in 3 days. Xiao Lin has just awakened, so she probably won't pass. But in 6 months she might. It's only because she has a skinny body. It's a problem they can fix right now. Yuchi and Xiao Shan decided to help Xiao Lin. Energy began to accumulate around the spirit beast. He shot the girl. A wave of energy suddenly ran through her body. Xiao Shan has taken over. She should be stronger now. At this rate, the exam would pass with ease, and the guy offered to try out her strength. But he's not the one to experiment on. It was exactly as he said. She was now 5 times stronger than an ordinary human, and considering the fact that she had a sphere of influence, she could be congratulated for passing right now. Most importantly, she must not underestimate Landon. 3 days later, the Union examination began. Physical fitness testing begins. A huge fist headed towards Yuchi. He destroyed it with ease. Others were shocked at what they saw. Next, he ran away from the animal while the girl leisurely nibbled on her ice cream. He passed that test with flying colors too. It was just unreal. In yet another test, he was dodging weapons. The other participants decided to go practice some more. It was the easiest thing for him to do. Why, she was credited with a pass. All because her aunt is one of the examiners. First, participants were congratulated for passing the first challenge. This man is the chief examiner for the first round of testing, Landon. At this point, their task is simple. They must use any means possible to last in a fight with him for 5 minutes. They must show all that they can do. Landon will increase his speed 5 times. And Yuchi was fast. Another participant used gigantism. Now he decided to attack the girl. But no sooner had he struck than she disappeared from sight. She was able to dodge before he even attacked. The examiner punched the fat man, after which he dodged a punch from another girl. Another contestant pointed her plant at him. They're all holding up pretty well, so he decided to speed up 10 times. He appeared in front of another contestant. The man used a Chankin kick, but Landon dodged it. The participant was too clumsy. That's what caused him to drop out. Maybe his speeds are 10 times the speed of a mere human, but that's not a problem. His hands can keep up. The man blocked his punch. The girl remarked that he was a mediocre examiner. He should show off his unique ability to make things at least a little more interesting. This boar will answer for her words. The examiner attacked her. He asked how she got a 50-fold increase in speed. She didn't even have time to react. Finally, something interesting has started to happen. She called in the forest killers. Since this examiner is so proud of his speed, let him attack. She's crazy if she decided to drive the chief examiner crazy. Now they're all dead for sure. She must first introduce the water. It has no prerequisites to do any damage, but if you add speed to it, it will even cut through steel. What if there was a rock instead of water? His stones destroyed the forest killers. We're gonna need a medical team here. This girl is definitely not capable of fighting anymore. Others began to panic, for the examiner would finish them off. Now I see why Shahu told him not to underestimate him. The guy definitely shouldn't tell him any nonsense. Yuchi replied that his current strength is not a threat. The man inquired exactly how she dropped out. But we just need to see if she's alive. Although she shouldn't be dead from one hit. If she is, we can take her to the Alliance. Undoubtedly, she behaved improperly with the examiner, but the way he responded to her was more like revenge. Their goal is to ally and fight, but not to die at the examiner's hands. Since he is an examiner, this site is his territory. If he doesn't like something, no one keeps him here. But anyway, he can't leave. If they're already up to pissing him off, the place planned for a 20-fold increase in speed, they'll be dealing with a 30-fold one. His ability strengthens his hand, which can be used for both defense and offense. Therefore, the examiner is interested in what he can do. He's clearly holding back his strength, but with each blow, the electric shocks are reaching him, causing his arm to go numb and his movement to slow down. If he continues like this, he won't last a minute. It's time for him to take a break. The fat guy was next. His ability makes him thicker, and with it, you can give your opponent a pretty good fight back. He even wondered if it could be called a human shield, but the man asked me not to hit him because he was exhausted. Now he needs to rest. Her ability is to summon resonant matter, which releases a powerful shockwave. This ability is unusual, but it is useless. Now it was Li Shulin's turn. The examiner suggested that her ability caused hallucinations. He appeared behind the girl, but his punch didn't hit her. So it was not a matter of illusions, for he heard the sound of her footsteps. He needs to get even faster to understand the essence of her ability. She's worse at keeping up now. Perhaps her technique is tied to movement. Landell is interested in talented people. If he finds him interesting, he will not curb his curiosity. If that happens, Xiao Shan won't be able to support her for long. That's when their secret will be revealed. If he finds out that the girl is cheating, there will be trouble. We need to distract him. Landon decided to attack her again, but Yuchi appeared in front of him. The examiner responded to his punch with a fist. He saved the guy for last, since he's the strongest one present. But he attacked Landon on his own. That's the first time that's ever happened. The power of their punches is similar, and that's good to see, because now he can gradually remove the speed limit to see if the guy can surprise him. Yuchi must not disappoint him, but the guy stopped him abruptly. Does it take him a while to get his ability in motion? He decided to give it 1 minute. And then a minute later, time was up. Yes, time really is up. The boy is not only strong, he's smart. The fact that he arbitrarily attacked the organizer is not respectful. I just don't know why he would do that. It's probably because of that girl. It was reckless to attack the angry examiner. Stalling for time was the best strategy. At the very beginning, they said they would only have to last 5 minutes, no matter what techniques they resorted to. If he hadn't intervened, that girl would have flunked out of the exam. He said about the 5-minute condition, but there's still a second to spare. But suddenly a sword fell in front of them. A man appeared and congratulated them. This was the examiner's second exam, a black-ranked warrior, Voodoo. The examiner must set the right example by following the rules. Voodoo's always sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. Landon left those guys to him. Li Shalin thanked the guy for bailing her out. He just got impatient with standing back and wanted to gauge how strong this examiner was. He doesn't care about her. This guy doesn't even stop disgusting her. They shouldn't think badly of the past examiner. He has a good heart, but the job forces him to be mean. There's something about it that doesn't show. It's hard for them to believe, so he decided to explain. Summer is the time when you are most likely to encounter spirit beasts. The union is understaffed, so they send even newcomers who have just passed the exam and haven't had time to adapt yet. That's why Landon is so strict. He wants to weed out those who might die on these missions. In fact, he had only treated that girl because she was being rude. With her attitude towards combat, she would have been killed on the mission, because beasts have no mercy. Now it's time to start the next phase. He said to look up. They're locomotive drivers, and now they have to choose between running over 1 person or 5. But either outcome here is horrible. It's better to save 5 at the cost of 1 man's life. Voodoo asked if she was sure. It doesn't matter what you choose here because you can still become a murderer. Human lives are priceless. Their value cannot be measured in quantity. This question is clearly a trick question. He wants to give up the choice. We could blindfold ourselves and let fate decide who dies. That way, they would remain innocent. Yuchi decided to bet on a miracle. What makes them think there are only two ways out of this situation? With their skills, they could have stopped the train. Voodoo laughed. He liked that answer, but such a loophole would not count as a solution. They have to answer which way the train will be directed. He asks in all seriousness. Whatever they choose to do, it will not be fair to either side. Why would there even be such a test? If they find it difficult to make a decision, they may delegate the right to choose to someone else and take the place of the one they choose. To be or not to be, that is the question. But they apparently need to be pushed into a solution. A clock appeared. The clock is ticking. She asked to be allowed to drop out. Even if you use the proposed option, the examiner can turn everything against them, and at the end it will turn out that each chose to eliminate the other. Naturally, there is some secret here, so it is necessary to understand what the true purpose of this test is. The first stage evaluated their strength, and what evaluates on this one. Yuchi understood everything. He chooses to keep her. This option is accepted. The right to choose also works in the opposite direction. But if they pick him for elimination, they're all out. Everyone has the right to choose, and by fearing for one's own skin, one can eliminate another. Whoever gets elected by the majority is out. That's too bad, because right now he looks disgusting. It is difficult to say, for it is not clear what the examiner's true purpose is, but there's nothing complicated here. They just need to choose. She refuses to choose, even if it takes a beating. If that's the way she wants to be, she will be very soon. It's time for them to end their games. The point of the assignment is not to save as many people as possible, but to get them to start suspecting each other, to distract them from the true purpose of the exam. It is to test discernment. And why would he think that? In the exam, it is important to check and keep within the given time. Judging from the first stage of the test, each examiner has 5 minutes. Lives are precious, so you can't measure them in numbers. Therefore, choosing to kill 5 in favor of 5 is also wrong. In order to prevent his true motives from being understood, the examiner deliberately allowed their own fates to be decided in order to mislead. That leaves the second point. If they don't figure out the trick, act on their conscience and refuse to harm others, they won't pass. And when Yuchi was supposed to choose, Voodoo deliberately showed the clock, to make him decide sooner rather than later. In addition, Li Shulin said that she refused to choose and would rather leave the exam, to which the examiner replied that she would do so soon, emphasizing again that time was limited. The examiner can only decide at the end of the test whether a person has passed or not. Only the guy was able to consider what was behind the difficulties the examiner had set before them. The boy voiced the answer, which meant that others could not reach it. Therefore, they will all be screened out. Does this mean his dreams of becoming a warrior are shattered? But it was just a joke. Only the person who did not hesitate to choose another without hesitation is eliminated from the game, and the one who refused to choose. After all, a person who sympathizes with everyone cannot become a warrior. He congratulated those who have passed, and then he disappeared. It's finally over. The first stage of testing was better. Yuchi wondered what if he had faced the same situation when he became a warrior. What it would have been. Their tasks are not meaningless. There is something behind them. One day, they will all be faced with such a situation and will have to choose what the solution will be. And so, Phase 3 has not yet begun. The examiner hasn't shown up yet, and it's been a while. He used his technique. It's a great time to regain inner strength. Yuchi can't figure out if he's fat or thin. Obese Shield, of course. Once he gets into the alliance, he'll ask to be called by a nickname he came up with himself. Obese Shield. It speaks for itself and is simple to memorize. It doesn't matter if one has a nickname, but today, alone in the same boat, and still haven't learned each other's names. It's customary for warriors to have a nickname. If they come up with such nicknames, it will work as an incentive, and their confidence in their abilities to become a warrior will increase. The girl has a nickname. She wants to be the Queen of Destruction. It doesn't look good on her. She looks more like a servant of the Queen of Ruin. He needs to consider other people's feelings. You don't have to ridicule them so openly. She started crying and calling the guy nasty. The queen doesn't need to cry. She shouldn't stoop to the level of this fool. But he was telling the truth. The man decided to call himself Pavian because his hand is what makes him different, and the nickname reflects that perfectly. He also assumed that the two of them were a couple, but that wasn't the case at all. She doesn't have the ability yet, so she hasn't come up with a proper nickname yet, so let them call her by her first name. And he is the son of God, or they can call him by an unremarkable name. For such a nickname, people might consider him a show-off. But being a warrior, you need to make people trust you. And now something was starting to happen. Is the exam really starting? The Union building is considered the safest place to be, so it's hardly an outside intrusion. A golem formed with a man standing on top of it. She was the third and final examiner. The common last task would be to destroy the Sandkeepers in 10 minutes. Someone had already put a hole in the Sandkeeper right away. One punch will definitely be enough. What a naive boy. But he began to recover. The Sand Guardian attacked the guy. The Sandkeeper was ruled by Shahu. She wanted to see how strong the Union's young talent was. A woman was waiting for Landel on the way out and asked how he was doing. After he met that boy with his fists. He barely qualifies, but his hand apparently disagrees. But she shouldn't get cocky. It was all his inattention. If Voodoo hadn't interrupted them, he would have taught the boy a good lesson. She has information that he was sent to headquarters to check on their duties. Don't underestimate him. He cares nothing for the strife of the upper class. He only fulfills his duties as a warrior. That's too bad. He's looking at the situation through his fingers. No need to then advocate for justice and show how righteous he is if the man doesn't care what Yuchi does when he joins the Union. Is that really the opinion of the top? But that's her personal opinion. It's none of his business, so he won't get involved. He used the purple flamefire technique, so he decided not to be modest. The Sandkeeper almost got him. Shahu wondered if she had overestimated him if he didn't even duck. He had almost forgotten that each examiner acted in a different style. The first one focused on strength, the second one on smarts, and she's acting differently. Simply destroying these sand people is not an option. He is, after all, the best of the contestants, so he needs to showcase himself well and figure out the goals of this stage. Li Shulin asked if the guy was okay. He's having a hard time here alone. He's losing his strength. This guy really is a drama king. He'll take a breather, and in the meantime, they have to sort this place out. First place will be his. Sand Guardian has the ability to regenerate quickly. We need to find out if he has a regeneration break. In other words, his weakness. They will split up and attack him in different places. It's a great plan. They started to take action. Shahu is eager to see what they are going to do. But they shouldn't forget the time limit either. She had planned for the Keeper to overpower him. Apparently, Landon was wrong. He likes to be the center of attention, after all, so he wouldn't just sit on the sidelines. Pavian used Changquan Gigantism. He kicked the Keeper's leg. Fatty used a live bullet. And the Queen of Destruction has activated a devastating shake. Li Shulin has no attacking technique, and her normal strength he wouldn't even feel. But it doesn't matter. She'll do her best. She punched the Sand Guardian, but it was no use. Surprisingly, they were able to deal with the Sandkeeper quickly. Was it really that simple? But it isn't. He had a guess. Back when Yuchi had first hit the Sand Guardian, Pavian had noticed that the sand itself had started moving towards the Guardian to heal his wounds. The entire surface in the examination area consists of earth. As long as there is land, it will regenerate. They won't win here. You have to make sure it doesn't touch the ground. It would be the easiest way to overpower him, but none of the 5 of them have the ability to levitate. They obviously can't get through it in 10 minutes. What a bunch of sheep. If they can't do it, just let them leave it alone. We need to find a clue. The examiner said there's a time limit, but all they know is they have 10 minutes. Maybe it's the big guy getting weaker by the minute. It's not out of the question. We'll have to try everything. They shouldn't give up so easily. 7 minutes later. Could he really regenerate indefinitely like that? It's really not an easy task. Each time it recovers, it shrinks but gets even stronger. It's also more nimble and stronger. Doesn't he have any limits at all? Her ability could come in handy against his current state. She used the realm of omniscience. She yelled for Pavian to be careful, after which she immediately took it quickly before the Sand Guardian almost hit them. That's speed. He was there in a flash. Next, the Sand Guardian wanted to attack the Queen. Fatty will take care of her. The obese shield should keep his head safe. The man used Gigantism. He was able to stop the Sandkeeper from hitting. If it wasn't for Li Shulin, they'd be in a tight spot. We need Yuchi to join them as soon as possible. He had always believed in him, though he never said so. The girl's ability can make up for their disadvantage against the Keeper. Now he was the only one left standing. Shahu mentioned time, but the boy still didn't understand what it had to do with their abilities. But the epiphany certainly came to his mind. He used the fire technique, Hellfire. But when exposed to fire, the sand is not melted, but modified. The Keeper now had a super strong body. He became a Stone Guardian. They're certainly not going to win now, but you don't have to stay that simple. It's not over yet. Not even a crack left. The Stone Guardian punched the man. Is there really nothing more that can be done? The fat man already wanted to give up. Yuchi didn't do it on purpose. He didn't know it would happen. Surely there must be another way out. Why are they so downcast? Did they think the guy didn't know it was coming? After the first round of the exam, the second began immediately, and the third only an hour later. She gave the clue herself. The time of the round itself is not 10 minutes, but an hour. And what are they supposed to do now? The third stage is designed to test strength and cohesion. Everyone has to contribute to the victory. They must make the queen strike it, then they will pass the stage. Li Shulin has to distract him so the fatty can attack. Pavian should throw the fat man in. The stone guardian immediately reacted to this. He knew this guardian was fast, but they were attacking with a blind spot after all. It was the queen's turn. She hid behind the fat man's back. The keeper might be fast, but even he wouldn't be able to react instantly. Sand cannot penetrate the stone shell. At first, Voodoo was worried that with their skills, they wouldn't be able to finish the task in an hour. But they acted as a unit, trusting their commander completely. He's liking this Yuchi more and more. Half a month has passed since the exam was administered. He believed he had proved himself better than the others. And now he would be sent to an area where he could prove himself to the best of his ability. However, things were not as he thought they would be. It was located in a mountainous area on the outskirts of the city. There's something going on in the city every day. Except that the neighborhood they patrol is suspiciously quiet. For his level, that's the way to go. Shahu did say, after all, that this is an S-ranked neighborhood that is suitable for beginners. You don't have to do anything, and you still get a 10,000 paycheck. That's great. 10,000 is a drop in the bucket for him. He needs bonuses, and it would be good to kill a couple Imperial-level monsters. That way, he could earn 1 billion and return home. Monsters are usually divided into Epidemic, Terrestrial, Tiangan, and Imperial. The latter are the strongest. They don't appear in places where people live, but they could easily destroy an entire city. Even the Union wouldn't risk going up against them. Plus, the guy is on the whitelist, so he can only perform tasks from it. He needs to accumulate fame points to move to the Sky list, and then already talk about it. Yuchi decided to call back to Sha's place. He contacted her immediately. Apparently he's doing well up there. That's good news. Monsters have appeared in many neighborhoods. It's going to be difficult to deal with. He wants to change his patrol area, but that can't be done until a year from now. Yuchi asked if Li Shulin was busy. There's a mustache beetle in her neighborhood. The three of them can handle it, with Shahu keeping an eye on them from the sidelines. He asked if she wanted to switch neighborhoods, but Pavian and Loli were in danger, so she disconnected. The guy asked to stay on the phone and finish listening to him, but it was too late. He lent her Xiao Shan, and she dares to pass out. Another day of idleness. Fatty had bought one game, so he offered to play it when they got back. The operation to take over the girls' school. He has strange tastes, but Yuchi didn't care anymore. Suddenly he ran somewhere, and the fat man asked where he was going. He decides to go to the city. The guy will kill all the monsters and get the Union to admit that sending him here was a mistake. Although there was fierce fighting in the city, the people in the area far from the battles led a measured life. Now the girl should show another seductive pose. After all, they were confident that the Union would solve any problem. She was added 5 word points. The girl wondered how many of them Yuchi had. No one's gonna stop him tonight. He'll take the job tonight, even with 0 glory points. They need help. We need to send backup to the 5th district. There was a huge white orangutan that was a normal level monster, but he's already been dealt with by the protagonist. Sting, a white-ranked warrior, asked the mole, who was also a white-ranked warrior, if he noticed what had just happened. It killed the monster in a second. A winged boa constrictor, an Imperial-level monster. They need to join forces to defeat a monster of this level. If he wasn't restricted in his movements, it would be much more difficult. There was Fiong, a yellow-ranked warrior, and Frost Snake, who was a warrior of the same rank. Well, that was quickly taken care of. Judging from the strength of the Fire Flash, it should be a black-ranked warrior. No less. He took him down with 1 punch, the kind of thing only 2 men can do. But it's not in their nature to do something like that. Maybe they're out for a night out. He's gonna get all those monsters. The strongest monsters should appear right for him. Something was on the horizon. It was a megalodon, a monster of the level of Earth demons. He's the one who 5 years ago threw the city of K into chaos. They need to get out of here now. A level of Earth demons have appeared in Area 16. They are asking the warriors in the vicinity to protect and evacuate civilians. The Union divided the city of K into 30 districts. The 16th should be in the seaside section. Megalodon has been attacked by a huge Tiangong-level squid. All black-ranked warriors in the vicinity should arrive at the 11th area within 10 minutes and deal with the squid. Finally, a worthy adversary. He has to get there first. Yuchi didn't think that this squid was so huge. Life doesn't teach these filthy people anything. They continue to exterminate marine life and pollute the water. The Lord of the Seas is here. These men will pay with their lives for the suffering they have caused. He noticed a guy standing on the water. Yuchi asked if the squid would repeat everything he said, but the squid immediately attacked him. Apparently, this squid wants to become human food faster for daring to interrupt him. Then it will be at the will of this monster. He missed a little bit. It was certainly painful for the squid. It's time for this man to die. Yuchi used the fire technique, but for some reason, it didn't work out. He had to hurry and think of something before the other warriors arrived. You'll have to give out many times more fire. It will boil the whole sea, pillar of fire. The positioning, with water all around, is as unfavorable as possible for him. But it won't stop him from shredding this monster. It's barbecue time. Squid was still shouting death wishes to the guy, but he shouldn't yell like that. He should shut his mouth. It's just a big, goofy squid. How dare the vile little man harm him? He'll eat the guy and grind his bones into dust. He's so sick of opening his filthy mouth. He's so rude. He must be killed. How could there be such a strong warrior in this town? Even a powerful squid strike can't break him. The other warriors will be here soon. This squid is definitely not going to do any good. Plus, his pillar of energy squid won't penetrate any of his water techniques. To him, this guy is the worst possible enemy. Of the human race, this guy is the strongest the squid has ever fought. He'll definitely remember his taste. He can hide, but the squid will still get him. I wonder if the squid is thinking of leaving already. The boy can't stop him. In the past, this monster has wiped out half the city's warriors and gotten away with minimal losses, but this time the stakes are much higher. His life is more important. Yuchi said he's going to kill that squid. Then he will. This guy's got a lot on his mind. This water tornado is created by squid blood. Its fire will immediately turn into vapor. He said goodbye to the guy, calling him dinner. The monster began to submerge. But naturally, the guy didn't think of letting him off that easily. He began to attack the spot where the squid was diving. And now it's Megalodon's turn. Yuchi went to the other monster, and the squid that wanted to eat the protagonist will no longer be able to do so. People were fleeing, and behind them followed a huge monster. The water started flooding literally the entire neighborhood. Another warrior appeared. He headed in the direction of the monster. Water attacks were already flying towards him. The guy started fighting them off, after which he used the heavenly spear. Mulingchen is a young warrior and also a part-time genius who is the favorite of 1 billion women. In one blow, he defeated the megalodon that was destroying their city. That's incredible. But as it turns out, that's not the end of it. Mulingchen was surprised that the man was still alive. The woman said to get up sooner. But they started to get sucked in. Does he really want the best TV presenter to die in a shark's belly? Something he hadn't realized was that it was harder to use power in the air. Can't count on a helicopter either. He started skittering across the rocks. The guy used a deadly sunfall. If he falls into the monster's mouth, which is covered with something sticky on the inside, the strength of this tiny man will not be enough to get out. But suddenly the monster sensed something. Some strange, overwhelming sense of danger that is similar to the effect it has on humans. No, even stronger. He was interrupted by the protagonist. Yuchi asked if he'd had enough. Now it's time for him to die. Yuchi threw a punch at him. Mulingchen was also not lagging behind. It was just mind-blowing. Mulingchen had actually dealt with the megalodon with his own strength, ridding the city of danger. Maya, the best TV host in town, receives a lot of messages regarding him. She asked for an interview, but it's not necessary. Though he is considered a strong man, he has also been nicknamed the Ice Mountain for his talent to ignite women's interest. The man said she should stop drooling over him. He offered to interview survivors who were nearby. But it's the kind of thing that someone with a slim gut would do. The guy decided to see if there were any other monsters around. The wave of monsters was mopped up thanks to the warriors. The warriors were thanked for their efforts to protect the civilians. Now he can go get his money. Warrior Union headquarters. Li Shulin didn't expect things to work out so quickly. She wouldn't say she helped much, but she is very proud to be part of the Union. Someday they will be like those two. One who finished off Megalodon and the other a six-eyed ragigant squid. They are role models. But the news said there was only one man behind it all. He was in different parts of the city in a short period of time and massacred the monsters. They spotted Yuchi. The girl asked why he was here. He came for the reward. He alone interrupted all the monsters, as well as the squid and Megalodon. It seems like being in nature had driven him crazy. Yuchi asked how much he could be paid. He might have gotten something wrong. The girl asked if he had read the news. Isn't there already an article out praising him? But it wasn't what he expected to see. He should do his homework and grasp the ground rules before taking credit for someone else's accomplishments. The guy wondered what rules she was talking about. He doesn't even know that. What this guy does in warrior class anyway. Isn't it necessary to just kill monsters to become a warrior? Then there must be some other conditions. Men like him are the scum of the warrior world, not an ounce of conscience. Again they fight. Before moving on to killing monsters, you must accept the assignment. If the assignment has not been publicized, you must take a picture of the monster and submit it to the Union, in order to avoid a situation where one warrior goes on a killing spree for glory, which can lead to death. Warriors of different levels can take on appropriate assignments. A warrior of a higher rank can take a mission to kill a monster of a lower level, but he cannot take a mission to kill a monster of a level higher than his own. Right now, he can only claim normal level monsters, but if he kills a stronger one, no one will recognize it. For security reasons, the Alliance requires strict adherence to the rules. Therefore, warriors who are willing to risk everything for a reward will receive nothing. It's just nonsense, not rules. There were no monsters in his assigned neighborhood at all, and he's only going to be changed in a year. It was all for nothing, and he can't go back. They asked where he wanted to go back to. His parents are from another world. They exiled him here, saying he must earn 1 billion within 3 years. Otherwise, he can't go back home. They were surprised that he mentioned another world. This guy is really a joker. She's got a good eye. The kid's strong and smart, but he's also a good joker. She should stay close to him. She doesn't like him at all. She asked me to stop spiking them all the time, but no girl would ever look at someone like him. Who could ever fall in love with him? He's decided something. Yuchi held out his hand to her. I can't believe he wants to explain himself. He hasn't said a word, but he's extending his hand. But it's so embarrassing because Pavian and Queen are watching. He asked her to pay him what she owed. He helped her become a warrior. She also had to pay for every day she used Xiao Shan's power. They agreed that a certain percentage of her income for the task would go to him. We need to calculate how much has already accumulated. She dismissed him with words to the effect that he was better off dead. Yuchi's account had 76,400. An Earth-level warrior, Tu Yuan, appeared there. Yuchi noticed the badge of an Earth-level warrior. He was asked to enter passwords and make sure the others didn't see him. He just wants to know how much a warrior of that level gets paid. Yuchi walked out of the bank. The girl noticed he was frowning. Could it be the wrong account for the transfer? That wasn't the point. The guy asked if she knew how much money an Earth-level warrior had on the card. The thought of not being able to charge money for an assignment of this level causes him distress. But we all started somewhere. After that, they've gotten stronger. Sooner or later, he'll reach the heavenly level. His predictions always come true. It is customary after a job well done to plunk down a bonus to eat to your heart's content. They will be no exception. So they left. They were already sitting indoors. Actually, guys are supposed to sit on one side and girls on the other. Yuan is so tough that he can take down a 6-headed squid. And Mu Lingchen defeated Megalodon, so now they're equal in merit. Soon Yuan will become the top warrior of his level. Yuchi had met this man just recently. The boy asked how exactly Yuan had finished him off. He will, but first he has to go to the bathroom. He doesn't even have anything to answer that question. Just imagining the corpse of this monster already sent shivers down my body. It turns out the reward for killing the squid was taken by Tu Yuan. Yuan turned around and asked if this guy had anything to say. But Yuchi only wants to be given the reward for killing the 8-eyed squid. He's the one who cut him into pieces. Judging by this guy's words and arrogant look, he's serious. However, he is a white-ranked rookie and his strength is only enough to deal with tiny monsters. However, he dares to act so arrogant and take credit for other people's accomplishments. Yuchi knew that Yuan wouldn't confess, so he would have to drink the confession out of him. Tu Yuan only laughed. This guy doesn't even know who he's talking to. Yuan is an Earth-level warrior, nicknamed Impenetrable by the Alliance. He can call himself whatever he wants, but the guy will take his reward today. There's no mercy for him. He better get ready to die. Yuchi just wanted to assess the strength of someone of this level, but he was stopped. It is forbidden to fight here, for they could harm civilians. He offered to arrange a location for the fight and meet there. Yuchi had already sent a request to the Alliance that there was an Earth-level monster here, so there was no one else here besides them. The Union will also fine Yuan for such misinformation. This guy's really determined. He asked for it. Greed leads to unhappiness. Tu Yuan felt a strong, overwhelming feeling. He wondered if this guy was definitely ranked in the white rank. The man yelled to stop. Yuchi asked what happened again. He has ophthalmopathy, so he can't look at its bright light. And this sword shines very brightly. He asked me to give him a minute. Using his glasses, he decided to test Yuchi's spiritual power. First, he had 278 points, but then that number grew and grew, eventually showed infinity. The red box said it was extremely dangerous. Could it be an Imperial-level monster in the form of a human? The man realized he had to run. That's what he did. But there were a lot of people outside. If that kid came out here and told everyone the truth, Tu Yuan's life would be ruined. He needs to confess to everything. Yuqi was already following him. Tu Yuan apologized and gave a reward of 1 million, what he didn't want to admit before. Yuan asks the guy not to talk about what happened, but this is where Yuqi will speak. In his opinion, it's too much for a man to take credit for someone else's work. It's a long story, but since the guy asked himself, he doesn't mind telling it. Since childhood, he was a squishy sociophobe who excelled in his studies, for which he was bullied. Besides him, everyone else had bad grades. They should at least try at least a 10th as hard as Tu Yuan. PE class. There was the only guy sitting in the class. The ball flew into him. This nerd even sneaks off to gym class to study. He really was the teacher's favorite. But in fact he, a loner, had always wanted to join them to make friends. That desire gave him the determination to become a warrior. After all, no one would refuse to get along with a warrior. After undergoing a special training course, his body had gotten stronger, but he was still mercilessly screened out in the military inspection. He couldn't give up, but he couldn't change the Union's mind either, so he decided to cheat. After discovering the corpse of a Tiangan-level monster, he made a video as if he was killing it. This earned him the rank and also made him a warrior against the rules. From then on, everyone began to respect him and greet him with a smile. But every day he lives in fear of losing what he has. Isn't he afraid the guy will tell the story to others? Tu Yuan doesn't know why, but once he told his secret to the guy, his fear receded. Maybe because he never stopped being lonely at heart. Yuqi didn't expect that he was straight up a surprise person. He shouldn't judge others by their appearance. Today he was finally rid of the heavy burden, and he wouldn't have to pretend anymore. He doesn't know how long it will take until he can get rid of his current image and become his old self. Change is a little scary, but it's good that it's coming. It was exactly as he said it would be. Since Tu Yuan trusted the guy with his secret, they are now friends. In return, Yuqi will tell his secret. Yuqi introduced himself and said he came from another world, the supreme deity of which is his father. He is honored to be a friend of His Highness as well. Yuqi was surprised at his name. Why is this man acting like a bigot? Tu Yuan replied that Yuqi was the son of a deity, not like them. This man is the first person who didn't think his words were a joke. They're friends, and friends are supposed to trust each other 100%. Yuqi had other plans for this man, but now being friends with him is much more favorable. The guy asked how he found the squid corpse. It was unlikely that he had just walked by exactly when Yuqi had left. Tu Yuan said to put on his glasses, after which he would understand everything. Yuqi put them on. He began to test Tu Yuan's spiritual strength. He invented these glasses himself to see the strength of his opponent's spirit, or rather to determine whether he was weaker or stronger than himself. No wonder he rushed off after putting them on. That's a really nice trinket. Yuqi asked what the spiritual power test meant. The concept of spiritual pressure was invented by Tu Yuan. The stronger a person's spirit, the more pressure aura emanates from him. However, few talents with a keen sense of intuition can sense it. Regarding the numbers, he made a rough calculation from the data of the Alliance warriors and compared it to the monster levels. The civilians had 0 points, white rank from 20 to 50, yellow from 50 to 200, black from 200 to 500, earth level from 500 to 1000, celestial level from 1000 to infinity. Yuqi inquired as to how many points he had. This is unknown. Since celestial level warriors are extremely rare, the data on them is underdeveloped. What is known is that there are no more than 100 of them, and it is difficult to estimate the limits of their capabilities. There is a detector in each area of K-City. When a Tiangang-level monster is detected, it heads to the specified point. Although they are strong, they can fight each other. If you are lucky, you can find the corpse of the loser after the fight. So that's why he thought the squid was killed by another monster. He could tell from the wounds that a man had inflicted them. But since no one had applied for the award, he figured they were both dead. He didn't know that it was Yuqi's handiwork. On the other hand, it doesn't matter whose handiwork it was, because it's a lowly thing to do. He was at a dead end. There was no other way to do it. The longer he didn't achieve any merit, the more distant he became from Mu Lingchen. Mu Lingchen is already doubting whether Tu Yuan really hasn't been demoted yet. He needs to prove himself once. I think he'd heard that name somewhere. Yuqi wondered how the man knew him. After all, he had just joined the Alliance and had not yet accomplished any feats. Did he really remember the guy's extraordinary looks? He remembers each newcomer so that he can fool them and befriend them in the future, and dump his responsibilities on them afterward. But that doesn't apply to him. This guy's a real monster. Union rules are to blame. Otherwise, no one would want to stay on the white rank. Actually, the rules were made up after he became a warrior by fraud 5 years ago. After that, others started pulling the same scheme, which led to many injuries and deaths among the warriors. So he's the one responsible for all of this. From now on, he must give all his assignments to Yuchi. That way he can keep pretending and Yuchi will get the money. Everyone's in the black. But he's already decided to confess everything to the Union. So it's not a good idea. But they're friends, and friends are to be trusted unless Tu Yuan was lying, of course. By doing so, they will do their duty and protect civilians. There's no harm done. Tu Yuan replied that it seemed not. There are no downsides and no upsides, so there is no reason to reject his offer. Now he has no reason to confess to the Union. Another man appeared and asked what he wanted to confess to. According to the information received, a monster was discovered here and caused a lot of damage. Disinformation was strictly forbidden, and such a thing would not only get you expelled from the Union, but also fined. So he asked what it was all about. Tu Yuan told him to get lost. There is nothing to ask questions here. Since the man is favoring him, it's very profitable for him to keep this guy to himself. Yuchi guessed that he might actually be kicked out of the Union. Yuchi asked if he would really be expelled from the Union. He did not know this rule. Did he not listen when they were told? Of course not. As long as Tu Yuan is around, nothing bad will happen. And what he wants to do. They were interrupted by a man and asked what they were whispering about. Better to answer the question and lucidly explain what's going on here. This man should stop pressuring them. He knows that Mu Lingchen is secretly competing with him. But his patience broke when he learned that the squid he killed was stronger than his megalodon. He is arrogant and envious. With such traits, one cannot fulfill the duties of a warrior with dignity. In 2 years in the Alliance, he has never once personally seen this Tu Yuan fight. He doesn't want someone who thinks he is better than Mu Lingchen to be someone who is only interested in fame. Only the strongest deserve his respect. If that's the case, they should have a showdown. That's why he came here. The man agreed. A permit must be obtained for the bout. With their levels, they are allowed to move around the neighborhood. The one who destroys the most monsters from that day until the end of the summer will win. Such conditions satisfied him. Mu Lingchen hopes that Tu Yuan will not fall behind. Finally, he had left. Just a little more, and Tu Yuan would have begun to doubt if this man would attack so angry. This is a case he leaves to Yuchi. Yuchi was worried that their skirmish might come out in his favor. But he needn't worry, for this man's head is definitely cooked, unlike his muscles. But they can be used to fool others. Tu Yuan laughed. Yuchi asked what to do about the misinformation. His expulsion from the Union would not affect the plan, but it would be very unpleasant if he was kicked out of there. Yuan decided to pay a visit to the headquarters, and he should wait for good news. Entry to this area was forbidden. The man found something. He was lucky. Another man asked what he had lucked out with. He got lucky with that new hottie over there. Xiao Lin began to worry about the guy who was in the restroom. But she shouldn't worry because Yuan is there. Especially since Mu Lingchen has also entered there. He'll deal with him. If that's the case, she's at peace. This guy's name is Tsu To. He joined the Union a year before she did. If she has any problems, she shouldn't hesitate to go to him. The girl was surprised that he was older and also wanted to say her name. But Tsu To was ahead of her, because he had been watching her for a long time. He didn't expect her to join the Union. It certainly didn't impress them. He literally just found out. Young people are so straightforward these days. He must have gotten too old-fashioned. Once he was asked by Shahu why he wanted to join the Union. Pavian wants to protect the people of his town. I was gonna say she's the reason. They finally showed up. It's his brother, Tu Yuan, who has an Earth level. If Chito can't handle something, he definitely can. Behind him was Yuchi. Xiao Lin asked if he was okay. Does she doubt his power? Just a few words from him can piss her off. But Tsuto rammed into him. He asked what was wrong with this boy's face. If it wasn't for his brother, he would have gone to feed the monster. Well, the guys just looked at each other. Tu Yuan said as they walked away. Chito asked him to wait for him, for he had not yet taught that boy a lesson to keep out of his sight. Xiao Lin is already in love, namely that boy. But are they right for each other? He's not strong and brazen to ignore Yuan. That idiot doesn't understand anything. That's the kid who's gonna have his back in the future. Maya said hello to the viewers. Today they are broadcasting before the Warriors Union is formed. Yesterday, the outbreak of the first summer monster wave was suppressed. Although the Warriors dealt with it in short order, the townspeople wish to protest their displeasure to them. They demand better defense. The Union is a bunch of good-for-nothings who can't save the townspeople. All his relatives are dead. Shahu came to him. Owl asked why she wanted to meet. Yuchi left K-City. This was not surprising. A certain Earth-level warrior, Tu Yuan, had asked to be given an assignment in S-City, and also wished to go there with Yuchi. This guy still won't give up. He even managed to befriend a top-ranked warrior so quickly. We should be more careful in the future. There's a fresh sample of monster blood here. The master is supporting Owl with all his might, so he shouldn't disappoint him. He is confident that very soon he will be able to create a new species of human-like warriors, not someone who would be considered a monster. Owl was going somewhere. He spotted a friend he'd been following for a long time. If he wants a man to show up, he will. The owl attacked him, but the unknown man stopped his blow with the tip of his finger. Who would have thought that Owl, whose hidden dragon faction was destroyed and also lost his arm, would turn into a wounded stray dog ready to bite at any moment? But he bites the wrong one, for they are kindred spirits. Owl asked who he was. He was an evolved gelding. City is located in a mountainous area. It is famous not only for its cute gangs, but also for its delicious hot pots. The dining car was discussing how the guy misinformed to test how quickly the Union would work in an emergency. After all, there are only 4 Earth-level warriors in the Alliance, so they mean something. It's not easy to piss them off. But the fact that they didn't interrogate Yu Chi is strange. Their hot pot was ready, so they were wished a pleasant appetite. He'll finally get a taste of this city's classic hot pots. When eating tripe, it's important to dip quickly and then relive the slice afterward. But is that exactly how you should eat? Yu Chi also tasted the dish. A feeling of absolute bliss overwhelmed him. Yu Chi will take the throne. Tu Wen asked if the guy was normal. How can something be so delicious? Mu Lingchen also wanted to eat. The guy wondered if it was edible. It's been simmering for about 4 minutes. This dish is spicy and tough. Why would it even be considered a specialty dish? The woman inquired if the gentleman needed help. Mu Lingchen replied that he would call her in case of anything. He almost lost his temper. Uchi and Tu Wen noticed him. It's bad luck that this guy is here too. What's he even doing here? Genius thinks alike. This city is surrounded by mountains and is full of places where people don't venture. Plus, it's often invaded by monsters. Yuan suggested they finish their food sooner and leave before they were noticed. And so they took the last piece. Geniuses think alike. Somehow the train started to slow down. Yuchi also noticed this. It's death train time. The wind armor of a foreign-ranked beast Cheng Han and him against 2 Earth-ranked martial arts masters. It's so interesting. A monster has appeared. As it turns out, it's a spiritual beast. This is a rhinoceros beast of divine level. What a bummer that he showed up here. The most important thing now is to ensure the safety of all passengers on the train. Yen wondered if he could handle the rhino. Strange, he rarely attacks people. Looks like someone gave him a nudge. That's because her cubs died on the train. Which of the 2 of them will be his opponent? Mu Lingchen will go against the rhinoceros, and Tu Yuan will go against this man. He is an Earth-ranked martial warrior, so he will protect everyone. It's great to have an Earth martial artist here. The guy asked who he was. He was the one who would kill him today, and whether he has the strength to do it. Yuchi used his flame technique. The man started screaming. He's acting way too cool for the dregs of this world. Since that's the case, the man will fight him. He began to attack him. The man decided to return the flame to its owner. What a rarity to encounter an ability that absorbs other people's energy. But he needs something a little more powerful. Yuchi responded to his punch. The man didn't realize what was happening. He and his fire were succumbing to this guy. His fire collided with the one above him. The man decided to consume his fire. He's so good. The guy let it happen on his own, so the guy should prepare to die. But it's not the end. Yuchi decided to get serious. He stunned the man with his attack. It's like 1,000 cuts. We need to absorb more. It's useless because he's immune to all spiritual attacks. He's the nemesis of martial artists. This man has too much power. But Yuchi asked what was wrong. Tu Wen explained that when he attacks, their enemy becomes stronger. That's why the guy suggested blowing him up, because he doesn't believe he has no limit. But he mustn't forget that the train is now full of passengers. If the worst happens, it will explode like a bomb. This guy really thinks he can defeat an Earth-ranked enemy. Even if that happens, Yuan asked if he could limit the range of his blast. Yuchi asked in response what his spiritual level was now. It started at just over the 400 mark and went as far as he could see. In other words, she was at least over 1,000, reaching the strength of a heaven-ranked martial artist. Then he's not sure he won't maim the passengers, because saving lives is much harder than killing him. After all, Lingchen was a member of an ancient martial arts family and could exclusively use physical attacks. He had heard Li Shulin mention it before. They seemed to have some hidden power, but what was so special about them in the first place? In those times, when the use of spiritual power was not yet developed, it was the ancient martial arts clans that were responsible for fighting monsters. A group of people who belonged to the glorious times of ancient martial arts and pushed people's physical abilities to the limit. Unfortunately, the people born with spiritual power were much stronger, and they had no limits. This led to the downfall of the ancient martial arts family, after which even their martial arts titles were taken away, and they finally retreated into seclusion. That's what martial artists are called. But perhaps this Mu Lingchen can really use ancient martial arts to deal with the rhinoceros and the unknown man. His previous attack was equivalent to charging him, so it would be difficult for Yu Qi to discharge it again. When he descended to the black rank, Lingchen would have a chance to win. The man grabbed the girl. Why should he give his life for their defense? Why the association is protecting them? The girl asked not to hurt her, as they were martial arts masters. But he was just an ordinary man like her. Only he had found a way to become stronger. He gave her some sort of vial of liquid and told her to drink. Then she can rise as a new man, like him. She will learn to fight, and she will know a new world. Or a world where everyone is a martial artist. The new world would have started 10 years ago if the Union hadn't gotten in their way. Yu Qi wondered what this guy was talking about. 10 years ago, a biochemical transformation took place. The humans finally came back and formed an alliance to fight the Fighter Alliance for real. The Union will not give assignments to catch them. Unfortunately, it will not have an additional source of income. From the Union's point of view, the Society of Celestial Evolution is absolutely heresy, and its destruction is a higher priority than that of the beasts. The boy should have nothing to do with the Society of Celestial Evolution. It's about not having a relationship with those who have gone to rehab. Here, he immediately thought of Li Shulin. Owl asked what the purpose of his visit to him was. If it was just for the sake of the technology in his hands, then it was unworthy of man number 3 of celestial evolution. But he's here because of Li Shulin. He's interested in her, because she will become the Eve of the new world. The girl agreed to have a drink if he wouldn't hurt her. Yu Qi immediately rushed towards them. He took that vial away from her. The battle between him and the big guy isn't over yet. The man decided to attack him. Yu Qi stopped his hand. But the guy can't defeat this enemy that way. Yu Qi turned to look at Tu Yuan. He threw him the girl with the test tube. Tu Yuan caught them. Fortunately, he didn't bite through the flask. Yuan evacuates the passengers, and the guy has to try to continue the fight in this train car. It's not a problem for him. If you use spiritual power, he'll just absorb it. It feels so good to feel a surge of energy in your body. The big guy attacked him again. Yu Qi dodged his attack, after which he grabbed his arm. Yu Qi tried to fell the big guy, but now it was the opponent's turn. He threw the guy to the floor. They're more fun to play with than the toys his brother bought him. He wanted to strike him again. Although physically he is superior to ordinary people, he cannot fight him without using his powers. Yu Qi even received a wound from a creature from this wretched world. This time the guy's gonna kill him.